Welcome to Dicta, your weekly dose of law school and bar exam info. I'm Carrie Ann.
And I'm Puyan, and we're the co-founders of Vinco.
And today we are going to discuss with you how to pick your bar review company. So not necessarily making any kind of recommendations about what makes one bar review company better than another, but more like what things should you be looking for as you're on the search for your bar review company soulmate. So what do you think? What's something important for our viewers to look out for?
Well, I definitely think you first need to assess your personal strengths and weaknesses and take those strengths and weaknesses into account when you're deciding which company to pick. So again, we're not going to discuss which companies cater to what strengths and weaknesses, but I would say that some companies emphasize certain strengths better than others, so that's definitely something to be cognizant of during the decision-making process.
Yeah, so some questions you might want to ask are, how many MBE questions does your company offer? How many essays are available for me to write out and submit? Is there a limit? What's the turnaround time, right? So if the MBE of doing 200 multiple choice questions scares the pants off of you, you're going to want to look for a company that has a lot of MBE questions. So those are some specific questions you can ask to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. I recall that there were people who had answered a lot of essay questions, but their bar review company that they had chosen was not getting back to them in a timely fashion. And some of these were like essays they had written about substantive law, and they wanted it to be reviewed so that they could see if they're applying the right law or if they even understand the law correctly, and they didn't want to move forward until they had that area of law down. So it was stressful. I have some thoughts
on that as a strategy, but yeah, it is really stressful if you're waiting for feedback and it's not coming and you're already in this high pressure environment, so you want to make sure your bar review company isn't adding to that. And kind of on that same point, you want to ask around. This isn't something that you would necessarily ask a bar review company rep because they might not be super forthcoming
unbiased.
Here. Yeah, but ask some students who graduated and took the companies, what kind of technical difficulties did they have? The year before I took the bar exam, or the year before we took it, I remember one bar review company had like a blackout. They were just down for like 2 or 3 days. And I just remember seeing students walking around the campus like
freaking
tears.
out. Yeah.
Now, that could happen to anyone, right? If it was a one-time thing, fine. But you want to find out, like, is this a reliable company, or do they have a history of not being on top of their tech support?
Yeah, and as far as I know, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure most of the mainstream bar review companies offer their products electronically and in hard copy, but some of the companies will specifically market their online resources, new programs they come up with online, for example, to like drill you on MBE questions and things like that.
Right.
And those are the things students take into account sometimes when they're on the fence between one company and another. And if you find out that previous students have had a lot of technical difficulties with that program, you may want to take that into account when to see if that's really something that's going to push you into purchasing one program over another.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big question to ask that a lot of people don't necessarily think of. So another thing that you're going to want to ask is, how long is your program? When does it start? Specifically, what's the date? What order do you teach things in? Do you start with MBE and then go into state specific? And do you do any sort of foundational work in the beginning? Some bar review companies offer like a boot camp of sorts. So for you want to know if you're the kind of person who likes more support and likes a longer program, that's something that might be appealing to you. So you just want to know what companies offer that and which don't.
Yeah, I mean, I know that many people who chose a specific program had wished that their program began sooner. And they also wished that their program addressed the topics in a specific order. Like, for example, MBE. There are some programs that will focus on like the 6 major MBE topics first, so that they could give you practice MBE questions as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Other programs will kind of intermittently disperse an MBE subject amongst, if you're taking New York State subjects. And that may work well. I'm sure there was some method to that madness, but I personally would have preferred to have taken all of my MBE subjects first so that I can begin focusing on improving my MBE baseline score, because that matters a lot.
Yeah, so it's what makes sense to you, right? Would it make more sense for you to go straight through with that, or does it not matter as much? It's not, again, we're not necessarily saying any of these things, one is better than the other. It's just knowing your learning style and what's going to work for you and make you feel the most comfortable.
Yeah, and okay, so another thing that you should really take into account is whether your program offers the courses in person or online or both. I'm aware of some companies that don't have an in-person option, or at least as much of an in-person option. So really take that into account. What's your best learning style? I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so the way I see it, there's kind of 3 tiers of bar review company. There's completely online, with which the videos are all online, and you do it all online by yourself. Then there's the online where you go and watch it with people in a classroom. So it's still, the videos are online, but they give you the option to come to a specific location and watch those videos with your peers. And then the third option is you go someplace where there's a live professor. So obviously those things probably increase in price there. And I don't necessarily think one thing is better than the other. Like for me, I did the videos, I watched the videos. And
from home?
I paid to go watch them in a classroom, but ultimately I ended up watching them from home.
That's what I did too, in the library. But yeah, I paid to go into the class. I found the class a little distracting, and then I just found a quiet place in the library and watched all my videos there.
Exactly. So you just want to know what options that bar review company has, because if you have your heart set on having a live professor, they don't all offer that. So before you give them your money and commit, you want to know if they have that available.
Yeah, and some of them only have that available in certain locations.
Yes. So you just want to keep that in mind. And the last tip, which is something that you might not want to be thinking about or talking about, but you're about to invest a lot of money, so you should consider this, is you want to find out what kind of retaker options they have should you not pass the bar the first time. So I'm sure those plans vary between bar review companies, and you just want to know, well, am I going to have to pay again from scratch, full price, or do they give me the whole thing for free? And I'm sure you'll find everything in between those two options. But people get all freaked out about bar review and just go with what they know or go with what their friend is doing, and they don't think about it as you're making a purchase. You're spending a couple of $1,000s, you're buying a product, and these are just some key questions that can help you figure out the best way to spend your money.
And just one side note with regard to retaker policies, there are some programs that will absolutely overwhelm their students with materials, and then I've heard accounts, I'm not sure how accurate these are, but at the end, if the student unfortunately did not pass and they go to speak with the bar rep to get like a free second program since they failed, or a severely discounted program, the bar rep will ask them, well, did you do everything that we asked you to do? And oftentimes the answer is no, because it's literally impossible to do everything that you asked us to do. So this may be a discussion that you want to have. I think that the bar programs have become a little more lenient about this, and they're a little more accommodating than I'm coming off as.
Well, my understanding is that it's a percentage of the work now that most of the bar review companies say if you do X percent, and this varies between them, but say it's 70% for one bar review company. If you hit that 70% mark, then you would qualify for a free course in the event you didn't pass. So it's just, you just want to find out what their policy is so you know everything you need to know going into it.
Yeah, you want to be an informed consumer.
So thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Dicta. We hope that you ask some of these questions before you lay out the cash for your bar review company. And as always, if you have any questions, you can email Carrie Ann at bingoprep.com.